All right, YouTube, it is Mr. Mean coming at you this fine Friday evening. My Friday night game of Pathfinder Kingmaker was canceled tonight due to holiday schedules and everything and all that fun stuff. I'm sorry, my hair is driving me nuts. I hate to do this on camera, but this is impromptu. I just got finished watching God, I can't think of his name. He's a voice actor and he does a video YouTube show called Me, Myself, and Die. DIE, meaning the dice, not as in dying. And one of the cool things that he does is he takes a game and he creates an NPC and he solo plays it and he streams the whole thing. And it's really cool. But he did his five favorite videos, or five, I can't talk, his five favorite RPGs, and it inspired me to do uh, uh, it inspired me to do my top five video games. Now, this is a hard list for me because I like a lot of games, and some would say that I have gamer ADD. I think I do, but at the moment, after some serious thinking, I compiled this list, and I've been thinking about it all afternoon because I could easily make a top 10 list, and these are all fantasy games. Well, yeah, one of them is two of them are, but can be run fantasy. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into it, and we're going to do a little exposition and why it's my top five, because this was a hard list, and you're going to be shocked that one of them is not in it. Because I have like every iteration of it ever made. So I do have my coffee. So strap in. This may be a little bit long of a video. I was falling asleep on the couch while I was thinking about this, and I said, I got to make a cup of coffee, and I got to get motivated. I got to do something now. I could paint miniatures, and I think I will do that if the. I was thinking about after this this Friday night. It is December 16th at not quite 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm thinking of doing a sit and chat on Discord, voice and video. So after this, we'll see. Pardon me while I sip my coffee. I'm trying not to, I'm going to minimize the Discord because I'm trying to record and I keep getting message pop ups and it distracts me. I very much suffer from the, ooh, shiny squirrel, just like most people do. But anyway, again, this was inspired, and I've seen a number of YouTubers do this and other people, and I think it's important because whether I want to admit it or not, I'm an influencer, maybe only to a very small crowd, but there are a lot of people that take my criticism and critiques about games to heart. And I would like to think from the feedback that I've gotten that a lot of people enjoy my view, my pros towards game system X. And, I think it works out either way. Um, so, Um, we're going to go through these games and talk a little bit about why I like them and what I like about them, what I dislike about them, because I've been doing this for over 30 years and there is no perfect game. Not even close. You can always tear a game system apart and find things that work better in other games. But everybody has their top, their top two or three games. Some people only ever play D&D or ever play Pathfinder, and that really is a tragedy. But the flip side of that is if it makes you happy and that's what you enjoy, then there's nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of people that family game night consists of sitting around the table and playing Monopoly or Rummikub or Scrabble, and that's the only game they ever play. They never try any other game. They've been doing it for 20 years. But you know what? If that brings their family joy and they all enjoy it, then so much the better. So, and I've said this before in a lot of my videos, there is no, um, barring social etiquette, barring political views and barring religious views, there is no right or wrong way to play a game. As long as everyone around the table is in agreement and having fun, That is all that matters when you're playing a role-playing game. It doesn't matter what your orientation is, doesn't matter what your religious or political views are. If everybody sitting around the table is having a good time, that is all that matters. Um, and I've played a lot of different games, and I go to conventions to play games that I've never played before, and that's how I found some of these games. And that's why they have, over the years, have become favorites of mine. So without further ado, we're going to get into it. And number 5, and I could insert snazzy graphics here and stuff. I'm not. It's just not my cup of tea. I like to just get up and talk to you guys as if you were sitting across the table talking with a good friend. Number 5, and this was a tight spot because it just edged out another game by the slimmest of margins. And that game was Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. And you guys know I love Warhammer. It is one of my all-time favorite games. I've played every version of it except for the abysmal. No, I actually did play the second edition, third edition, whatever you want to call it, from Fantasy Flight. That was more of a board game. I did actually play it for 2 sessions and quickly realized that it, excuse me, I got the hiccups all of a sudden, was not the game for me. Not that it was a bad game, because I will say Fantasy Flight's presentation of Warhammer was amazing. They did a great job as far as presenting it, but it just the gameplay with the tokens and everything just wasn't for me. Um, so um, this game beat that out, beat out Warhammer Fantasy, just because. And I've only recently found this game in the last year, and I've quickly become enamored with it. I've got pretty much every physical book that they've put out for it. And that game, number 5, is Castles and Crusades. Um, it's a U.S. based company, I think, out of Idaho or Ohio. I can't remember. It's printed in the U.S. This is the 8th printing. Arkansas. They're out of Little Rock, Arkansas. So, what I like about this game, the simplicity of it. This game plays so easy. It's a D20 roll plus whatever your damage dice are, and that's pretty much it. It's a derivative of D&D, of I'd say more a mashup between first and second edition with a little flavor of 3.5 and 5.0 thrown there, but not much. There's very little. In fact, I can't think of any 5.0 rules that are in here. Maybe some of the feats or something like that. But the mechanics are real simple. And that's what I really like about it. The monster manual is super simple, and you can take any of those monsters from first edition or second edition, and you can plop them right in here, and they run just fine. I'm running a Wednesday night game on Foundry. A gentleman by the moniker of Discord moniker of 42 Squirrels, I believe, is working on the rule set. He's doing a fantastic job, and I think he might have one or two people helping him. But for the most part, it's he's the main brains behind it. This is a great game. If you like your hack and slash, you want your D&D fix, but you don't want to be bogged down with all the 5th edition rules, or you don't want all the plethora of 3.5 edition books and all the bloat that came with 3.5, and you don't want to deal with the cumbersome rules of second edition or the not enough rules of first edition. This is a great choice, and I think it's very well supported. Printed in the US, so if you're an American viewer, which 90% of my audience is, you can't go wrong. And it's printed in the US, it's published in the US, and it's produced in the US. And if you're a veteran if you're a veteran, period, you can send them a sanitized copy or proof that you are a veteran. You get 50% off all of your orders, and that's a lifetime 50. You can use it as much as you want. Even if they're having a sale, you can use it. So I have saved a lot of money by buying all these books, and I own just about everything that they've done for Castles and Crusades. What I don't like about it, not much, to be honest. I would say some of the simplicity. There are certain things that like Pathfinder does way better. If you want a more modern game, this is on its 8th printing, so it's been around a while. I think the original. Does it say when the original printing was? It it does not. So I don't know when Castles and Crusades was originally done. I want to say early 2000s. I could be wrong. If you know, Correct me down in the doobly doo. But yeah, Castles and Crusades number five. Really like this one. Really enjoying playing it. Is it the fantasy game flavor of the month? I don't want to say yes. I think I'm going to like this for a long time. The books are very agreeable. The price point is solid, and they read really well. And they're always cleaning it up and adjusting it with new printings. And I'm very happy with the production quality of the books. Number four is one that I've been with since the beginning. Number four, from the beginning, Savage Worlds. I have every iteration of the rule book, and of course, I have the suede version in hardback. This is a setting agnostic game, meaning GURPS, uh, Palladium, Rifts, because that, well, Rifts is its own setting, I guess. GURPS is the big one that comes to mind where you can play any game in any genre in any setting that you want. You want techno ninjas and zombies in an apocalyptic world. GURPS is the game to do it. Also, Savage Worlds, really well done, very clean, very uh, open-ended dice rolls, which I really love. Your dice can explode. It uses poker chips and playing cards, which is innovative in and of itself, but it's done really well. It's not gimmicky. You use poker cards, a standard deck. You can buy themed decks. The other thing is Kickstarter is great for finding. You want Greek mythology poker cards. I bet you can go on Kickstarter and find somebody who's done a Kickstarter, and then you can track it down from there and maybe purchase a deck. I bought Viking cards because at the time I was running Hellfrost, which is very much a very Viking, heavy Viking influence. It's its own fantasy world by Paul Wade Wiggy, or Paul Wiggy Wade of Triple Crown Games. He produced a setting called Hellfrost, which was a very heavily influenced Viking type game. And so I bought these Viking poker cards. Actually, I kickstarted them and it was awesome. I got two decks for like 20 bucks, which is a little steep for poker cards, but the art on them is amazing and the cards were really nice. So you can buy themed poker decks, you can buy themed poker chips, but you don't have to. You can use glass beads, you could use Cheetos, or whatever for Benny, what they call bennies. Typically, every player gets three bennies, and you're allowed to manipulate the world and mechanics by using these bennies. They're like a get out of jail free card. And the game has only gotten better over time. This rules version is really nicely done. The book is fine quality. Studio 2 Publishing is who they use. I don't know if they print out of China or not. I don't know if this will tell me. This is the second printed in China. So it is what it is, but really well done. What I don't like about, well, cons I think I've already or pros I've already explained. It's any system, any genre, not any system, any genre, any setting you can convert to Savage Worlds. There's, and search the web. There's a ton of Star Wars settings for this. There's a ton of Battlestar Galactica. I've seen Warhammer done in this, Slay Industries, which I have those rules. They're really well done, by the way. Um, Chances are there's a setting or a world setting that's been converted to Savage Worlds if you're not a fan of those mechanics. Um, and of course, they just recently did a huge Kickstarter with Paizo to bring Pathfinder into the Savage Worlds setting. So there's a plethora of books and tokens and cards that you can get. Uses a full set of polyhedrals, which is nice, except for the D20. Only the GM will need a D20. You may need a D20 if, say, you were playing Rifts, because Rifts has been converted to Savage Worlds. You may need a D20 there during character creation or to roll on some random charts. But average players will just need D12s on down. You won't need anything else. Great system. My cons, to me, in my opinion, it doesn't lend itself very well to campaign play. Every 5 experience points is a level or a bump, and every 20 experience points, I believe it's 20, is a major upgrade. So you can increase an attribute, things like that. Um, it just, you play for 4 hours once a week, let's say, and your GM gives you 1 experience point, you're like, you just feel kind of like, well, we played for 4.5, 6, or, when we were younger, we played for 8, 10 hours sometimes. And you walk away with 1 or 2 experience points. It's like, so you can quickly outgrow your character can become super powerful once you reach legendary. And so the game doesn't really pace itself very well. I would like to see them go to like a tens basis instead of a five, so that a way, every 10 points you get a bump, and then every 100 points you'd get a new level or something like that. So, but that's an easy hack that any GM can do, and you can just, you can manipulate that number of experience. I haven't done it, but it's something I probably should do. So, number 4, Savage Worlds Adventure Edition, or Suede as it's called. This is the current version. You can get it on Drive-Thru RPG. You can get it off of Pinnacle's website. You can get it off of Studio 2 Publishing's website. If you do it off of Drive-Thru for any of these titles, use my affiliate link, which is down in doobly-doo. I get a few bucks, and it doesn't cost you any extra, and you're helping the channel. So just a quick plug there for Drive-Thru. So yeah, Savage Worlds number 4. Really good system, very well done, updated, kept current, errata, all that fun stuff. So the next game, this is a blast from the past, and I have been with this game since its inception, and I want to try and see. I think it was around October of 1999. A little company out of upstate New York called Eden Studios produced a game called WitchCraft. And it was very similar to Cyberpunk. In other words, in its mechanic, it was a stat and a skill and a 1d10. Anything over a 9 total was a success, but you always had to roll because a 1, it had exploding dice. By the way, Savage Worlds has exploding dice. I should have mentioned that. That's a big pro. This has exploding dice as well. So if you roll a 1, and it uses d10s exclusively, and I think d6s, if I remember correctly. It's been so long since I've ran this game. And like I said, this is a phenomenal game. Uh, if you're not into vampire, it's not your cup of tea, then this is a good alternative. If you still want to play in the occult, you want to play a dark RPG, or maybe you just don't like the mechanics of vampire, but you still want to play a vampire or play a vampire type game, then you totally can do that with this. Ooh, I got a bookmark. Who knew that was in there? I'm just looking for like the weapons and stuff because I believe it was, yeah, D6s. Yeah, so it uses a full set of polyhedrals, but D10s is mostly what you're going to be rolling. CJ Corella was the author of this. He also did Armageddon, which is another one of my favorite games. Um, and he also, I think he had a hand in All Flesh Must Be Eaten. Again, these are readily available on Drive-Thru. In fact, I think you can get this for free off of Drive-Thru RPG right now. In fact, uh, I'm trying to see. Uh, Alex Yerkat, I believe, just had a stroke recently, or George Valikos, I'm sorry. George Vasilikos had a stroke. He manages a game store in upstate New York, but he also is a game designer. He's done only a few things. In fact, this one's great because I got Alexander, and George to sign it. So if you can see that, May your solstices be merry is from Alex, and then um, George just signed it with Y2K. In my All Flesh Must Be Eaten book, he drew a zombie for me. So I'm a big fan of this game. They paid for me to go to Gen Con back in 92, I think it was 92, 93, if I remember correctly. Or it might have been Y2K, year 2000. I don't remember. It's a long time ago. Um, was it before I went to Desert Storm, or was it after? I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a long time. Pros and cons. Pros, great system, good mechanics, was innovative at its time. I think it's still innovative. I think it holds up to the test of time. The mechanics are solid. They play well. Cons, it's not very well known. A lot of people don't know about this game, and it's a shame because it's a really good game. I ran this at conventions for quite a while, and it's still one of my favorite games where you play a modern day witch and you weren't slinging fireballs like D&D magic or Pathfinder magic. It was more, it took a lot of energy and a lot of preparation to do magic, and you could, set people's hair on fire or stuff like that, or frighten people. But magic wasn't like it is in like a fantasy game where it's high magic. This was a low magic setting where you had to work at magic rituals, and you had to get, you had to get to places of power and get items of power that could help you cast magic. So it was very in depth and very character oriented. You like Vampire, and I'm sure it was greatly influenced. And the other part is RK Post did a lot of the art for this. So if you like the Vampire, the early original Vampire art, you're going to love the art in here. It is fantastic. And I've reviewed this on my channel a couple of times. Um, I think there's an RK Post piece of art right there. If I can move my fat fingers, I think that's RK Post. Is it? I can't tell. No, that might not be. Um, that is RK Post right there. Bast, which is the god of cats. So, or this is a evil god eating a cat, which is, or no, he's eating a mouse. So yeah, it's a representation of Bast. But the art in here is very dark. Oh, that's another good one. That's not RK Post, but it's a cool piece of art. So if you're into the occult, witchcraft, vampires, werewolves, ghost, this was a great book. Had a number of supplements. I believe I do own them all. It's really well done. I highly recommend it. This is number 3 on my top 5, or counting down number 3, because I've had many, many games with this, and I love this game. And I fondly, every so often, I'll crack it open and read a couple of chapters, like on the setting and stuff. I thought it had a really nice character sheet as well. But again, the game just never got a lot of love. I mean, it sold enough copies, and like I said, I believe it's free on drive-through. And I tell you what, I love this one so much that I bought a second copy in softback, um, and I had it spiral bound. And this is signed by the guy that played Darth Maul. I can't think of his name right now, but the guy that was at Gen Con that year, and he signed it. And he says, "To John, nice getting to know you. All the best." And it was the guy that played Darth Maul. I can't think of the actor's name. Oh, look, a GURPS Magic bookmark. I got bookmarks and everything, and you can see this one is my play copy, so it's got tabs to common sections that I would use. How to create a character, and it walks through the steps. So, oh, that was it's a good piece of art right there too. I wanted to show you guys. Ah, kills me. I flipped right past it. It's another arcade, and a ton of arcade post art in here. Um, let's see if, oh, there it is. Haha, is that arcade post? No, it's the other guy that looks like arcade. I think it might be arcade post, but look at that. It's cool, like a gargoyle or a demon or something like that. So really cool game. And if you abuse magic in this game, it could come back to get you. So really good game. Ghost. You could play a ghost in this game. So it was really cool. Just not enough exposure, I feel. And it's a cool game. If you're into that vampire, mage the ascension, werewolf the apocalypse, give this a look. You might be pleasantly surprised. It was a really good game. Uh, so number two on my top 5 Mr. Mean games. This one, I fell in love with it. The art grabbed me first. I saw the art on this, and I went gonzo. I said, I gotta have this. What can I do to get a copy of this? And so the designer, the writer, one J. Lasarde from merry old England, sent me some art, and then he sent me his pre-production proof, and I read it cover to cover, and I loved it, loved every bit of it. And then I believe he did a Kickstarter, and I backed it on Kickstarter. I have 2 copies. He sent me a copy. He sent me one of his proof copies. Is this the proof copy, or this my Kickstarter? This is the Kickstarter one. This is the D6 versions. This is number 2 on Mr. Mean's favorite RPGs, The Black Iron, a grimdark fantasy RPG. This is the D6 version, and I've touted on my channel many times that I don't like D6. I like the system. I like the mechanics in here. I like how it plays. I believe Jay is coming back to it to do a second edition, and I think he's going to use a percentile system, which I'm even more excited about. Although I will say for this game and the way it flowed, I did like the D6 system. Uh, it's a very dark setting. This is not a game for kids. It deals with rape and body horror and modification. The elves in this setting are the bad guys, and they are not nice. The elves torture. They bred humans like rats and experimented on them. And then when the humans revolted and rose up and started fighting back because they were treated like cattle, basically, and the elves were very decadent and, just doing whatever they wanted, how they wanted, when they wanted. And they effed up the planet pretty good. They decided they did a mass ritual and they just poof, they disappeared. And when they disappeared, they had already exterminated the dwarves because the dwarves were the only ones capable of fighting them on even ground, so to speak, because the dwarves were tough and strong and they were resistant to magic and all that. So, but the elves exterminated them almost completely. Jay has a supplement out that talks about the dwarves. I think I have it. I'm not quite sure if it. I'm pretty sure it released, but only as a PDF, and I'm pretty sure I have it. I have to go back and look. I just never found the right crew to play this game with. It's a very dark game, but it's fun, and the world is very cold, and magic is not easy, and they use fire magic to keep the earth warm. And there's great mages that sacrifice, are young mages are sacrificed almost like in 40K where psychers are sacrificed to the emperor by the thousands. It's not on a scale that grand, but it's kind of that same ideology of sacrificing people that are weak in the magic to keep these towers that provide heat and keep the monsters out. Because when the elves left, they opened up the cages to all their experiments and let them go. There's 5 blood lords that are just psychopaths. You'll never fight one; they're too powerful. But it's really just a bleak game about survival, and it's really well done. The setting in the background is amazing. It is truly my number 2 favorite, and it would be my number 1 favorite if this other game that I've been a fan of for 20 years or more, and that is the Black Eye, the Dark Eye. The Black Eye. Ow! The Dark Eye. This is a German game by Ulysses Spiel, and it's been around almost as long as Dungeons and Dragons. It's produced in Germany. It is basically their take on D&D, but the mechanics are really in depth. You can make the character you want to make. Magic is very involved. It's not slinging fireballs and putting people to sleep in mass. It's very subtle. It's powerful, but it's subtle and it takes work and it can backfire on you and cause you a lot of drama. So it's very well supported here in the US. They've done a number of Kickstarters. I've supported everything since the first. The original Kickstarter I missed. I didn't. At the time I was unemployed and I didn't have much access to cash, and there was just no way I could back it. But I did do a little review of it, and then the guys at Ulysses Spiel saw my review, and they sent me all of the Kickstarter PDFs. And so that really obviously made me feel good that my review touched them enough that they wanted to help me out. And they sent me all the PDFs. And it was super cool because I was using those PDFs to run games until I could get enough money to buy the books. So I do have the big core hardback. I have all the books in hardback. This is, excuse me, the digest size. And I just find it's easy to lug along to conventions and stuff. It's a unique try D20 system, meaning you roll 3 D20s. Every skill equates to 3 of your attributes, and you roll 3 D20, and you need to get below a certain number. Your skill level, basically, you need to get below that, or below your attribute level minus, and then your skill points, however many ranks in a skill you have, are the numbers that you can use to boost. So let's say you have trying to climb a cliff face, and it would be strength, coordination, and dexterity. Let's just say. Um, and so you would have to, and say your strength is a 14, you'd have to roll on one of the die, you'd have to roll a 14 or less. Your dexterity is a 13, you'd have to roll a 13 or less. And let's just say your Let's see. I don't even remember all the attributes. It's been so long. I don't get to play this. Let's just say agility, or no, con. We'll say con. It's a big hill and you've got to climb it. So strength, agility, and cons. And let's say your constitution is 9. You have to roll below a 9. Well, if you don't, let's say you have a 7 in climbing. You have 7 skill ranks in climbing. That forms a pool, and let's say uh, that agility roll or that constitution roll, you needed a 9 or less on a d20, but you rolled a 14. Well, you can suck 5 out of that skill pool and you can make that a success. So rolling low in this game is good. And you say, oh my God, that's so confusing. But I'm telling you, when you play this a couple of times, that suspense and that success feeling you get from doing something that seems pretty difficult, it's amazing. And the world setting is just awesome. It's a very unique setting. Their take on their world is amazing. It is well supported. It's by Ulysses Spiel. And I think these are my two top fantasy games for various different reasons. This is a very dark, grim world. You think Warhammer Fantasy roleplay is dark? It ain't got nothing on this, baby. This eats it up and shits it out. That's how dark this game is. This one's just a good medium fantasy. I don't even call this high fantasy. It's a medium fantasy game, kind of low magic, low to medium magic. There are magic weapons. There are sorcerers or mages. There's a mages guild. There's clerics. It's just a dynamic world that is full of such cool stuff. They have a drag. So they have this drake that smells so bad, and it lives in swamps, and it surrounds itself with carcasses and stuff. And it's, you think black dragons in D&D are nasty and foul. They got nothing on this dragon, baby. So dragons in the Dark Eye are uber bad. You don't want to run into them. And they have other monsters that are 10 times worse. So giant mosquitoes that like to fly in off of fields and carry people away. Amazing. So really, really good game. So that's my top 5 tabletop RPGs from Mr. Mean, most in the fantasy genre. I think what I might try to do later on, maybe in a week or so, is my top 5 non-fantasy games, which would include superheroes, sci-fi, modern, that kind of thing. So let me know what your top 5 games are. Do you own any of these? Are you a fan of any of these? Let me know. And of course, as always, pop over to Discord and let's chat about it. We have a very active community. We have a very active Patreon. uh, Patreon is $5 a month and it helps support the channel. Everything goes back into the channel to support the channel. And it gets you a special designator in Discord that lets everybody know that you are a Patreon. And then you also get first dibs on any games I run. And every quarter or so, about every 3 to 4 months, I do some sort of drawing where I give away something to one of the Patreon members. And so it's a freebie. So it kind of pays for your membership, which is $60 a month. Of course, I also have Buy Me a Coffee, or Ko-Fi as it's called. You can go on there and donate money to the channel as well. So if there's definitely something you want to say, or you want to see me cover, do a small donation on Ko-Fi, and it'll get moved to the top of the list. Um, and if you're a publisher or a game designer and you want me to talk about your games, please send me free copies. I prefer hard copy, but if it's financially unfeasible for you, PDFs work just fine. But I'm old and my eyes don't like reading PDFs. I like even physical books because I can put my bifocals on and I can read this. But in all fairness, the print on this is pretty legible. It's not horrible. So one of my favorite games. This book is just laid out really well, and the art in here is fantastic. So my top 2 favorite RPGs right there, or fantasy RPGs, not my all-time favorite RPGs, but we'll make that another list. So I hope that gives you some insight into the thinking of Mr. Mean and sparks you for what are your top 5 favorite RPGs. And like I said, put a comment down below. I read all the comments. I think everybody knows that. And pop over to Discord. Let's talk about it. Let's see what your top 5 are. We have a pretty, like I said, thriving community in Discord, and we'd love to have you there. So as always, like and subscribe, support the channel in any way you can, and remember, have a happy holiday and be nice.